Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to Granny B's house. I hope you're having a real good day. And I know you're being kind to those people around you because that's just who you are. You're a very kind person. Well, Granny B wants to talk to you about Linus from Charlie Brown. You know, Linus has this little blue blanket that really makes him feel good. He carries it with him everywhere. Let's read about Linus and his blanket. Happiness is a warm blanket, Charlie Brown. Well, let's see what Linus has to say about his warm blanket. All right. Linus loved his blanket. It made him feel safe and secure. It soaked up all of his fears and frustrations. Oh, he looked so happy with this blanket. Linus didn't like to be away from his blanket ever, not even when his sister Lucy decided it was time to clean it. Wash day, Lucy would shout. Oh, it's in the rinse cycle, she'd say as Linus began to sweat. And finally, it's in the spin cycle. At last, Linus would get his blanket back and he'd be happy. But lately, Linus's friends had begun teasing him about his blanket. They thought it was silly and got in the way. You and that stupid blanket, said Schroeder. Oh, Lucy's stepping on his blanket right here. I can't stand it, said Charlie Brown. Even Sally, who loved everything about Linus, had something to say about his blanket. You're my sweet baboo, she told Linus, but I would like you even more if you'd give up that blanket. Only Charlie Brown's dog Snoopy understood how great Linus's blanket really was, and he wanted it for himself. Linus had an even bigger problem than teasing or a jealous dog. Oh, his grandmother was coming to visit. Grandma didn't like Linus's blanket one bit. Lucy began to pester Linus more than ever. If you don't give up that stupid blanket, she said, Grandma's going to cut it into 1,000 pieces. Linus had to find a way to give up his blanket before Grandma came, but how? Linus tried a substitute, but that had drawbacks. Oh, the dish towel, ick. Lucy locked his blanket in a closet, but Linus couldn't stay away. Oh, you'd better give it back, Charlie Brown told Lucy. What makes you say that, Charlie Brown? Lucy asked. Look at poor Linus trying to get in that locked closet. Grandma's visit was just a few days away, and nothing seemed to work. Linus was not going to give up his blanket, but someone else had other plans. Snoopy! Linus screamed. Oh my, Linus chased Snoopy everywhere, but Snoopy made a daring escape. Seeing Linus's blanket fly through the air gave Lucy an idea. Lucy made a kite out of Linus's blanket to keep it away from him, but Linus wasn't fooled. My blanket, Linus yelled. Things only got worse for Linus when Lucy let go of the kite. Linus watched his beloved blanket float off into the air. Linus's blanket was really gone this time. Staring up at the great big sky, he felt sadder than he ever had. I'll bet I'll never see my blanket again, he said. Still, Linus had to try to get his blanket back. He asked Charlie Brown to help him put an ad in the paper. Lost, one light blue blanket in the shape of a kite. Please return. Owner desperate. Even though his good friend Charlie Brown stayed by his side, Linus could barely sleep without his blanket. He kept thinking about it, wondering where it could be. Oh, soon Linus got some good news. It was a telegram from the Air Rescue Service. They found my blanket, he told Charlie Brown. They're mailing it back to me. Linus was thrilled to get his blanket back. But his happiness did not last long, as Grandma was arriving that day, and Lucy had come up with a surefire way of curing Linus of his blanket habit once and for all. I buried it, she said. Ooh, that's pretty extreme. Linus dug and dug and dug, but he could not find his blanket. Just when things seemed hopeless, Linus's blanket seemed to find him. Snoopy dug it up. It was time for Linus to face Grandma. She was not happy that Linus still had his blanket, but Linus stood his ground. I need this blanket, he told Grandma. It's the only security I have. After all, everyone had someone or something that helped him get through the day. It wasn't just Linus with his blanket. Lucy had her sweet baboo, Linus. Schroeder had his piano. Lucy had Schroeder. And Snoopy had his dinner bowl. Even Grandma had her coffee. Linus made a good argument for keeping his blanket, but Grandma would not listen. Hand it over, Linus said. You want me to hand it over? Sure enough, Grandma took Linus's blanket away. Did you notice something here? But Grandma didn't really get Linus's blanket. He had swapped it with a dish towel and tricked her. After Grandma had gone, Linus got out his real blanket. Charlie Brown was happy for Linus. Everything was back to normal, and Linus's blanket was safe. Still, Linus was a little sad to see Grandma go. I'm going to miss the thrill of the chase, he told Charlie Brown. But luckily for Linus, someone would always want his blanket. That's Snoopy, huh? Oh, what fun. So, do you have a blanket? Do you have a security item that you just feel good when you have it in your hands? Well, Granny B does. Granny B has this mug. You know, it's a mug made by Keith Rice, but and it's old. It's all stained inside, and I make my chai tea latte in it here at home. I make hot chocolate in it. I make plain old hot tea, and it just feels good in my hands. And when we travel, yep, I pack my security mug with me, and it just feels good to drink anything out of it. So I don't know if you have a nice warm blanket, or if you have a mug you like, or maybe you've got a kitty cat. I just had a kitty cat run through this room. So my cat Ed, his security blanket is Grandpa B and me. You want to come up here? No? He doesn't. He heard Grandpa B outside, so he's going to go check it out. Well, I hope you have something that just makes you feel good. And I hope it makes you be kind. Does it make you a kinder person when you've got your security with you? Yeah, it does me. I feel good when I've got my mug in my hand, and Linus feels good when he's got his blanket in his hand, and no matter what you have, I hope it makes your heart happy. So you come and see Granny B again sometime, and if you want to bring your blanket or whatever you have that makes you feel good, just bring it along. Granny B loves you. Bye-bye.